asked them, like, whenever I was getting my diagnosis, I was like, was this, like, go hand in hand, like, with me having strep? Like, I thought, like, maybe my thyroid was enlarged because I was so sick for so long. Like, I was just trying to, like, connect the dots in a way. He's like, I think it was, like, an incidental finding that, like, was totally unrelated to you being sick. And I was like, well, thank God I was sick.
I was about
like,
to say, so if you didn't have strep, like, you might not have
I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have gone to the doctor.
Arkansas sophomore Cora Hair made her debut on the Razorbacks soccer team this year, immediately making an impact.
Down and in! Arkansas gets the goal, their fourth of the match, and the score from Cora Hair.
But for Cora, it's a year behind schedule. At just 18 years old, Cora Hair's life took an unexpected turn. What started as strep throat soon became something far more serious. A diagnosis that would challenge her in ways she never imagined.
I was trying to run and like I can't run like 20 yards without being like absolutely winded. So I go back to the PA and she's like feeling my lymph nodes and like felt down my neck and was like, your thyroid's kind of swollen, like and enlarged. Like we should probably go get that looked at.
After a series of tests, the news was hard to process. Papillary thyroid carcinoma, cancer. But even in the face of uncertainty, Cora remained resilient.
Part of me knew. It was obviously very shocking. And Colby was sitting right next to me and he like gave me a hug and he's like, we love you, kid. Like whatever you need, like we're all here for you.
Through surgery, recovery, and emotional ups and downs, Cora leaned on her team and family to push through the hardest days.
They surrounded me so well during that time and I'm so thankful for all of them.
Today, Cora stands stronger, not just as an athlete, but as a survivor. A reminder that even in life's toughest battles, resilience and support can help us triumph.
If I can handle that, like, I can handle anything. And I think it's just like a new sense of like gratitude every single day that I get to wake up and I get to be here and I get to play soccer.
Cora, we just want to get some background on you, get to know you a little bit. You grew up in the Tulsa area. Where exactly?
I grew up just outside of Tulsa in Broken Arrow, so it's like 30 minutes east of Tulsa. My high school graduating class had 1,500 kids in it. So
wow.
It's not very small, but
yeah,
yes,
no
it's one of the like bigger suburbs of Tulsa, yes.
Okay, and you said your mom used to play golf.
Yes.
So you're like an athletic family?
Yes, my mom played golf at the University of Tulsa, and then I have a cousin that played softball at Kentucky, and then another cousin that played softball at Loyola Marymount.
Wow.
So all the female athletes in my family were all college athletes. Yeah.
Did your mom try to get you to play golf?
Oh yeah, yeah. My parents owned a golf range when I was younger, and I have an older sister. She's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
And so we like grew up on the golf range all the time. Like we were there every single day, like with our dogs, just running around and swinging golf clubs around. But my sister played soccer. Like she started playing soccer, and then once I got to the age where I could kind of decide what I wanted to do, of course I chose soccer because I just wanted to copy my sister. But yes, she tried to get us to play golf. She made my sister play junior high, but I got out of it because I decided to play basketball instead, and my mom said that was okay.
Switch it up a little bit. So do you still play any golf? Like, could you go out there and
I could go out and swing a club, definitely. Whenever I go home, we'll go hit balls sometimes, but yeah, I won't play 18 holes.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
It does take a long time.
So you played golf, played basketball, played soccer, kind of dabbled with a couple of different things. When did you really settle on pursuing soccer?
Probably 8th or 9th grade. I was playing junior high basketball and running track and playing soccer. And I think in 8th grade, like I switched teams, and it was at the time it was like DA. It was like the U.S. Soccer like league. And so I was driving to Oklahoma City 3 nights a week for practice because it was like a state team. So it was like all of like Tulsa and all of Oklahoma City playing together. And so once I started doing that, like I was like, if I'm willing to like kind of make this time commitment for soccer, like I'm pretty sure that this is like what I want to do. And so then I was only soccer starting from my freshman year.
So were your parents driving you to Oklahoma City
Yes.
all the time?
Yeah.
That's some dedication too
Oh,
from your
definitely.
parents to
Yeah,
have that
we
support.
We had like a good little group of us. There were like 5 or 6 of us that would go over to Oklahoma City every week. And our parents kind of rotated, but I would say like my mom definitely took quite a few shifts driving to Oklahoma City for sure.
So it sounds like you and your parents and your older sister, y'all are really tight knit.
Yes, definitely. And my sister's my best friend in the whole entire world. And I call her on the phone every single day just to like be like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she recently got engaged.
Oh,
So that's really fun too.
Congratulations.
Yes. So that's been really fun too. But yeah, my family is like everything to me.
The Tulsa area, first off, I want to start out. That's such a highly recruited area for the University of Arkansas. Was that something that you were aware of when you were playing soccer? Did you know other people that got recruited?
Yeah, so there is like a core group of Tulsa girls that came here, I want to say in like 2017 or 2018, maybe they were around my sister's age.
Okay.
And so like my sister knew all of them. And so I was obviously had Arkansas in the back of my mind. And then I was really good friends with Mac Malum.
Okay.
So she's a year older than me. We played for the same club team. She went to like a rival high school. And so she committed and I was good friends with her. And same with Van. Van went to Jinx. And so like definitely the Tulsa area. And a lot of kids like come to Arkansas just for school too. So I was like always had that in the back of my mind too.
But I mean, it's also nice because it's not that far from your hometown. So I'm sure like your parents come visit you and stuff, helped you move in.
Yes.
And you got to campus and all that.
My parents came to every home game last year. Like they didn't miss a single game. And like my sister will come down on the weekends if I'm not busy and we'll just hang out and stuff. But I mean, it's 2-lane highway like the whole entire way. So
That's true.
It's pretty easy.
Just cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
When did Coach Hale reach out to you for the first time? Do you remember?
It was in July going into my junior year of high school, I'm pretty sure. We were in Florida for an ECNL showcase and Sammy called me and yeah, she was in contact with me and then Kate Carter. I played club with her. And so I've known her for a really long time. So that was really cool for both of us.
So what did you like about Coach Hale that you were like, you know what, I want to play for this guy?
Obviously like a guy like Colby, it was very intimidating to be like such a baby and be in high school and like trying to make like such a big decision at like such a young age almost. But I was really drawn to like the competitive culture for sure. And like knew that if I like came here that like I was going to automatically just be better, like not just as a soccer player, but like as a human being too. That's Colby's like biggest thing. He's like, whatever you do after soccer, like whatever you do in your life, like I want you to take like what you learn here and apply it, whether that's like being a mom or like being an employee or whatever that might mean for you. And I think like that was probably like the biggest factor that went into my decision.
I feel like all of the girls on this soccer team and Coach Hale, they all you all have the same mindset, like that competitiveness. You have to have that edge and like it's full go all the time, nonstop. Is that something that you were like before or you had to kind of grow into?
Definitely was like that before, just like being a part of like an athletic and competitive family. Like it was always like all gas, no brakes. Like there was never no stop. And so I think definitely coming from a background of that is also like what drew me here.
Also like Coach Hale doesn't sugarcoat things.
No.
Like, I mean that in a nice way, but he doesn't. And so that's unique. I mean, you have some coaches out there that would probably kind of be like, okay, you know, you did it wrong this time, but let's do it this way. Like that takes some adjusting, I'm sure. Or was that something that you really thrived off of?
I would say I kind of thrive off it in a way because I would say me and my family have sort of a tough love kind of relationship. Like we also don't sugarcoat anything. And so I think I was kind of used to it. It's a little different when it comes from a coach too, because like obviously like it's just different. Yeah. But definitely I was kind of used to it, but it also took some adjusting just to be like, oh my gosh, she's like screaming in my face. Like, what do I do?
What was it like for you, you know, when you first got here on campus and now you're in the SEC?
Yeah, I came a semester early. So 10 from my class early enrolled and we came in January. And I remember like our first practice, we were all just like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And it's such a big adjustment coming from like high school and like club soccer. Like it's not comparable at all. And like trying to get used to like the speed of play. And you're playing with players like Ava Tankersley and like B. Franklin and Anna Potajo, like, and coming in as a 17-year-old, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, what did I get myself into?
It's like daunting to be on the same field. Yeah. Did any of them kind of take you under their wing at all or help you?
Yeah. I mean, all the older girls when you come in are all like so nice and welcoming, and they understand what you're going through, because like obviously everybody is a freshman at some point, whether you come in as a freshman and, you know, or an All-American like Anna was, or like whatever role you might have, they're all very aware of that. And I think like definitely recently, like I've been talking to Tank a lot, and like she is just, I love her to death. Like she's just awesome. She's such a good leader for our team for sure.
Well, Coach Hale, when we asked him about you, he described you as athletic, tough, and technical. Do you think you'd agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm pretty tough. I mean, I definitely think I play on like the grittier side for sure. I've always kind of been like that, but I think that's probably Colby's favorite thing about me, is that I'm just mean and I'm tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know your full story, but from what I've heard, tough, I think, is definitely a good word to describe you, especially with what you've been through recently. Just whatever you're open with sharing in terms of the health battles that you've been going through. What exactly has the process been like for you?
It was March of this year. We were leaving for spring break, and I like came down to strep, and I was just like in bed with a fever, and somehow I managed to go on our spring break trip. And I got back and I was like, still wasn't feeling very well. I kind of just thought it was like something that I had to just get over a little bit. And I was like, oh, it's just hanging on. Like, I just kind of have to wait it out. But then I got back to campus and we were practicing. We had a game like the next weekend, and we were playing Nebraska. And I was trying to run and like do everything in practice. And I was like, I can't run like 20 yards without being like absolutely winded. And so I was like, I think I need to go back to the PA and kind of just see like maybe she missed something the first time, or maybe like whatever. So I go back and she is just doing like a normal like sick exam, and she's like feeling my lymph nodes and like felt down my neck and was like, your thyroid's kind of swollen like and enlarged, like we should probably go get that looked at just to be on the safe side. And I was like, okay. And so then I go the next day, get an ultrasound, and then I was in lab later that day, and Dawn, our athletic trainer, texted me. I was like, hey, what are you doing right now? And I was like, I'm in lab, like I'm in class, what's up? She's like, the ENT wants to see you today. They're going to keep the clinic open for you. Like, can you leave? And I was like, for what? Like, I was like, I'm kind of in the middle of something right now. Like, I was not processing like that I had to go. Right. And she was like, our team doctor is going to call you. Like, you should take her call. And I was like, okay. So I step out and she called me, and I was just like, hey, like, what's up? And she was like, we don't love the results of your ultrasound. Like, we want you to go get it looked at just to be safe. And she's like, I want it to be perfect, and it's not. And so she was like, we're just going to have you go up there, and he's going to see you today and take care of it. And I was like, okay. So I meet Dawn at soccer, and she takes me to the appointment. And mind you, like, my parents aren't there. Like, my parents are at home. They don't even really know that, like, I'm going to do this. And so we're in the ENT's office, and, like, we get my parents on the phone. And he was just like, we saw, like, 2 5.5 centimeter nodules on your thyroid. We're just going to biopsy them. And then, like, we'll have to wait to get the results. And I was just like, okay. So they aspirate it. And then he was like, okay, come back in a week, and we'll have your results. And I was like, okay, a week? I was like, that's wow. It's
a long time.
It was like a waiting game too. Yeah. So that weekend the team traveled, and I talked to Colby, and he was just like, it's up to you. Like, because I still wasn't feeling very well from having strep. And so he was like, it's up to you if you want to come this weekend, or like, if you're still not feeling well, like obviously like don't play. I was like, okay, I think I'm just going to take this weekend and go home. So I went home, hung out there, and then came back the next week and got my results on a Wednesday, I think. And it was April 3rd, and Colby was at the appointment. It was Colby, Dawn, our team doctor, my parents, and the ENT. And we were all in like a big conference room. And the ENT comes in, he just kind of sits down and opens his laptop and is showing me my ultrasound. And he was just like, basically, like, we got your results back. It's papillary thyroid carcinoma. He was like, it looks like, obviously, it's going to require surgery. And he was like, we'll have to do some additional tests and scans just to see like what the extent of that's going to be. And I ended up getting referred. He was going to do the surgery here at Washington Regional. And then I ended up getting referred down to Little Rock through UAMS. And I'm so thankful that I did, because they were like a great team of like doctors and surgeons. And I'm so thankful. They are so awesome. And so then I got surgery on May 8th in Little Rock. And then from then it's just been, yeah.
I mean, I feel like you've kind of like departed a little bit from it. Like it's
Yeah.
behind you now.
Yes.
But that's such an emotional journey
Yeah.
to go through. Especially, I mean,
Definitely.
how old are you?
19.
19. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy to have gone through that. I want to backtrack. So you're on spring break.
Yes.
Was it actually strep throat?
Yes.
Okay, it was
Yeah.
strep throat. And then so you come back and you're a little exhausted.
Yeah.
But like, was there any other symptoms? That
No, and I remember like, because I went to see the PA before we even left for spring break, because I like missed the last practice before spring break, and I got so much grief from that from Colby, of course.
I'm sure he feels
Yes.
bad about that now.
But she kind of told me, she tested me for flu and COVID, and I was negative for both. So she was just kind of like, oh, like if it's viral, like I can't do anything for you. Like you just have to manage the symptoms. And I was like, okay. She's like, if you're fever free for however long, you could go on your spring break trip. And I was like, okay. And, like on spring break, I started to feel better, but it was just like lingering. Like I couldn't like seem to fully get over it. And so, yeah, it was strep.
Okay.
But I asked them like whenever I was getting my diagnosis, I was like, was this like go hand in hand like with me
Right.
having strep? Like I thought like maybe my thyroid was enlarged because I was so sick for so long. Like I was just trying to like
Right.
connect the dots in a way. He's like, I think it was like an incidental finding that
Wow.
like was totally unrelated to you being sick. And I was like, well, thank God I was sick.
I was about
like,
to say,
yeah,
so if you didn't have strep, like you might not have
no, I
even
wouldn't have known, and I wouldn't have gone to the doctor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you start to really feel like something was off?
I think whenever I was in the ENT's office, like, and it was just me and Dawn and him, and like my parents weren't there, I was kind of like obviously afraid because like my parents aren't here, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, and like no one could really tell me because they also didn't know. But I could just tell like the demeanor of like the ENT. I was like, something's off. Like I could just feel like, because I was 18 at the time, and I was like, like I'm an 18-year-old girl, like he is like giving me like sad eyes. I was like, something's wrong, and I knew something was off. And I remember like calling my mom and being like, something's wrong. Like I can just tell by the way that like he was acting. And my mom's like, well, you don't even know him. Like maybe he's just like that. And I was like, I just kind of had like a gut feeling.
Yeah. So when you go back home and you're waiting
Yeah.
to get these scans back and figure out,
Yeah.
you know, if it's something serious or
Right.
not, that waiting had to have just been brutal. But at least you're with your family, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they supported you during that time. What was it like?
It was hard. I mean, because I don't think any of us really realized like the extent of the situation. And like I had a gut feeling that something was wrong, but I wasn't going to tell like my family that or like my sister that because I didn't want to freak anybody out. And also like if it turned out to be nothing, then like obviously that would have been a blessing. But at the same time, it was hard to sit there and wait and like not know. And luckily my parents were able to come to the appointment and stuff. So like I knew that I was going to see them the next week if the results were good or bad. And so, I mean, it was nice to go home and kind of like have a little bit of a reset weekend. But it was really hard to wait that full week. It was horrible.
And then you come back in. Having all those people there in the room with you, I'm sure was nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're still getting this news that's so
Right.
shocking
Yeah.
and I'm sure devastating as
Yeah.
well. Just what was it like when you heard them tell you?
I think part of me knew in a way, but also it was obviously very shocking. And I like, my mom and dad were sitting across from me and I was like, I can't look at them. And Colby was sitting right next to me and he like gave me a hug and he's like, we love you, kid. Like whatever you need, like we're all here for you. And it was definitely nice to feel that support, especially just like, because I mean, he doesn't have to do that. Like he does not have to do that. Same with Dawn. Like she did not have to hold my hand through every appointment. Like they did not have to do that. But it just showed like how much they care aside from soccer. And so like I think it was really cool to see that and like now have that relationship with both of them to like fall back on. Yeah.
And I mean, it's cancer.
Yeah.
That's such a heavy word for anyone.
It was just hard because there was nothing like physically wrong with me. Like I was physically fine and like I didn't feel sick. So I almost thought like, I was like, no, they like mixed my results up with someone else's. I was like, there's no way that like I have cancer. I was like, that's not true. And I remember Colby was like, how do you want to tell the team? Like, do you want to tell the team? Like, how do you want to go about this? And I was like, he's like, you don't have to tell them. I was like, well, they're going to find out eventually when I disappear and have a huge scar on my neck when I come back. But, you know, he was like, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Like, if you want me to tell them, I can. If you want to tell them, like, you can. And I told him, I was like, I want you to tell them, because I was like, I don't think I can stand up there and, like, say the words. And I was also just like, I think it would go over better if they hear it from you. And he told them the next day. We had lift the next morning, and he told them, and like we all sat in a big circle in the weight room, and he was just kind of like, here's what's going on. Like, you know, Cora needs you guys. Like, this is what the deal is. And I think like the next couple of weeks were just like very heavy on our team. And it was obviously very heavy for me, but it also was like the whole team, like morale just felt like different. And they were surrounding me so well during that time, and I'm so thankful for all of them. Like floods of like texts and calls, and like they would take me out to go get ice cream and stuff like that. So it was so nice to have that too. Obviously it was very heavy and very hard, but like they made it so much easier.
And you talk about that initial sit down with everyone. You're in the weight room just sitting there. I'm sure there were probably some tears and stuff. Just what were the emotions in the room like?
I think everyone kind of turned and looked at me, because they were like, we don't know, like nobody knew, and they're like, we don't know what to say or like what to do. And I'm someone that like I laugh during those kinds of times. Yes. And like I would like make jokes about it. Like obviously it's not a joking matter, but like that's like how I got through it. And I was like, I'll be fine, guys, like not a big deal or something like that. And I think once they saw that like it was going to be okay, then it definitely got better after that. But yeah, definitely some tears, big emotions. It was just not like a fun day.
And you've mentioned Colby a few times, and Dawn. Just what's it been like for you having that type of support from them throughout this entire process?
It was, their support like meant everything to me, because obviously my family can't be there, but my family raised me to be like very independent and like not necessarily like need them all the time.
Yeah.
And right after I got my diagnosis, Colby was like, hey, like we got your parents a hotel room here if you want to stay with them, or like, you know, if they want to stay here, whatever. And I looked at my parents and I was like, you guys can go home. I was like, I think I'll be fine. I was like, I need to be here. Like, this is the best place for me to be. And Colby was always the first one to say, like, we have your back. Like, whatever you need, like, we're willing to do it. Like, we're here for you. Like, we're so happy that you're here. And he was in communication with my parents as well, like checking in on them. And like, he put himself in the shoes of like, if this were my daughter, which like was really comforting for my family too. And it was just nice to have both of them at my corner during that.
Can you explain a little bit about what the type of cancer was? Because I mean, I'm immediately thinking I'm going to go Google it.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure the doctors explained it to you, but there's several different kinds. So if you don't mind just kind of giving us a run through.
They say that like, if you're going to get cancer, like thyroid cancer is the best one to have. And so like, in a way that makes you feel better. In a way, it's also like, thanks? Like, question mark? I don't know if that's really true or not. Basically, it was a very classic thyroid carcinoma. So they said it was like pretty predictable. It followed like a typical pattern that they usually see. And it spread outside my thyroid to my lymph nodes, which is very common and like pretty normal. But like the doctors weren't really surprised about like any like new findings throughout it, which was comforting in a way. But whenever they referred me to Little Rock, I was kind of intimidated because I was like, oh, like it's too complicated for like anybody here, or like, you know, no one's going to be able to do the surgery. Like what's going to happen? But my surgeon in Little Rock was incredible. Like he was awesome. And I think like it was a blessing that like I ended up getting to have him do my surgery. And he was like not surprised by any of it. He's like, I see this all the time. Like, you know, like you're going to be fine. Like this is pretty normal in your case.
I mean,
yeah.
It's like, I guess it gives you a little bit more comfort. But at the same time, I'd still be internally kind of freaking out, which I'm sure you were. Yes. So how fast was the process once you found out when you're in that room with your family to you actually having surgery?
I was diagnosed April 3rd and had surgery May 8th.
Okay.
So a little over a month, which a lot of people think is a real long time, but that's pretty fast. Like, because I was like trying to find other places too. Like, let's say like I couldn't get in Little Rock. Like we were going to try and go down to Houston. Okay. or we were going to go up to like Mayo and try and like figure out like what was going to be the best option. And the Little Rock date was the fastest. Other places couldn't get me in like end of June. Yeah. So.
But so during that month, you said you were feeling fine?
Yeah.
So you just went home and spent some time with your family?
I would go home a couple weeks on like the weekends maybe,
Yeah,
but I was really just in Fayetteville. Yeah. Cause I was like, for me, like I need to be around the team and I need to be around my friends. Like that was the most important thing for me. And I think I remember my mom texted Colby and was like, my kid doesn't want to come home. Like, is that normal? And Colby was like, I think it's a sign of good parenting that like she doesn't like want, like she doesn't need you guys to like be around her. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I love you guys, but like you gotta stop like crowding me. I was like, I'm gonna be okay. And I was like, I'm in the best place for this. And I was like, I have 34 girls like around me at all times. Like I was like never alone. And I was like, this is exactly what I need right now. And my sister would come during the week and stuff, which that was really fun too. But yeah, it was just a lot of time with my friends and stuff. But yeah.
So then I'm sure your parents were with you though when you went to Little Rock.
Yeah.
The day of your surgery, like what did they tell you about it? The scar, just what was it going to be like for you and what was the process?
On the way down there, I was definitely nervous because I drove from Tulsa. I moved out of the Marshall on like the 6th, I think, of May, and then went home, was home for a night, and then went down to Little Rock with my parents and my aunt. And I didn't know like what time my surgery was going to be. I didn't know how long it was going to be until like the day before. And so they called my mom and they were like, it's a 5-hour surgery. Her surgery's at 1. She needs to be here at 11. And like, that was that. And so then I showed up at 11 for pre-op the next day and they called me back. And like the anesthesiologist and my surgeon came back there and they're like, okay, like, do you have any questions? Like, it's a 5-hour surgery. You know, and you'll wake up, you'll be a little groggy, but, you know, like, we'll get you comfortable, we'll get you in a room. And I was like, when can I leave? Like, when am I going to be allowed to leave? I was already ready to go. And they're like, oh, we'll just have to wait and see. It depends on, like, how your blood work comes back. And I was like, so you can't tell me when I can leave? And they're like, no, we don't know. And I was like, dang it.
Okay. Was there ever any concern about, like, you know, them potentially having to do another surgery? Or was it that just, like, clean cut, we know that this is the one thing, we'll get it all and then we'll be done?
They were pretty confident that it was just going to be the one thing, but I didn't realize until after like how like intense of a surgery it is. There's a lot of stuff on your neck that you don't really think about. And I had like, they chased lymph nodes like all the way out to the end of my collarbone, and so they were like in my trap, and then like I had lymph nodes on top of my like subclavian artery, and so they're like trying to work around that. And then of course you just have so much like important stuff in your neck. And I didn't realize that until after. And it took like the full 5 hours. And they like come out and update my parents like every hour. And they were just like, it's still in progress. It's a very detailed surgery. And we were all just like, okay.
Were you, when you came out of the surgery, I'm sure you were a little groggy, but once you kind of got used to where you were at and felt like the scar, what was your reaction to that?
I remember waking up and my dad was the first one back there, and I was like, take a picture of it, or like give me my phone, like how to see it. And I saw it, and I thought it was really cool at first. And then my mom came back there and stuff, and I got up and walked around, and, you know, was just waiting for them to call me back to my room. But then once I got in the room, my nurse came in and like took my blood and like gave me a couple shots or something. I don't know what they gave me, but then I like got up to go to the bathroom. When I saw it in the mirror, it was like really overwhelming because I also had a drain.
Oh yeah.
And so it was just like sticking out of my neck with like a bag at the end of it, and it just like scared me. And that was the first time I had like seen it, like not through like a camera lens. And my mom was like, it's okay, like it's gonna heal really nice, like it's a part of your story, like it should be like a part of your confidence now. But yeah, it was definitely really overwhelming to see it the first time. Yeah.
Eventually, I'm sure you get the drain out after a day or couple days. What was the recovery process like after that?
I was never really in like a ton of pain, thankfully. It was just a lot of discomfort, and a lot of my nerves were damaged from surgery, obviously. And I had a lot of shoulder pain because they like dug around in there. And that was honestly like more painful than like my actual like incision. It was just really uncomfortable. Like it felt like pins and needles, like just all over my neck. And the left side of my face was numb for a long time. My shoulder was numb. But I just kind of had to give myself like time to like let my body heal. And it was really hard to not like force it. But once like my surgeon told me like, okay, like you're good to go, like you can do whatever, I was like on a run the next day.
How long was that before you got the okay?
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
Yes.
okay. And you were already itching to get back to it.
I was tired. I was going on walks. Like I have a German Shepherd at home.
Okay.
And I was going on walks with her and my sister and my parents, of course. And I was like, I want to try to run so bad. My dad was like, no, you can't. And I was like, it's making me so mad. Like I want to so bad. But I went for like a week post-op appointment and he took my stitches out and he was like, okay, like, you know your body, like, you know what your body needs. Like, I trust you. You're not going to hurt yourself at this point. He's like, whenever you're ready, you're good to go. And I was like, that's it. And he was like, yeah, I'm cutting your reins. And I was like, oh, thank God.
That's incredible.
Then, and then I waited another week because I still wasn't
Just to be
ready.
safe.
And then I went on a run.
Man, isn't that crazy to think about, like, having gone through that whole process and you have cancer, and then a week after your surgery, they're like, oh yeah, just go back to your normal life.
I was like, really? I think my dad was definitely like erring on the side of caution, like trying to be like, no, you can't, like, no, don't do that. Don't push it too hard. I had surgery on the 8th and Mother's Day was the 11th or something, or somewhere around there. I don't know. And I was out kicking a soccer ball with my sister and my dad was like so mad at me. I was like, Dad, I can't sit still anymore. I have to. Yeah. But once like my surgeon told me that I was good, I looked at my dad and I was like, hey, now you have to say that I'm good. Like you have to let me do this. And he was like, okay, fine.
Did being young and being an athlete have anything to do with how fast you got back to feeling normal?
Definitely. My surgeon told me, he was like, we don't see like a lot of patients that are like as young and healthy and active as you are. And he was like, I'm curious to see like how this affects your recovery and like how you bounce back from this. Because obviously it is a known thing that like the younger you are, like the better you heal. Yeah. But it definitely played like a huge role. I was supposed to be in the hospital for like 3 or 4 days, just to give my body time to like readjust and like because when they take your thyroid out, like your blood supply is like damaged to that like part of your neck. You have like 4 parathyroid glands, and so when they remove your thyroid, like your parathyroid glands are kind of like in shock and they like regulate the calcium in your body, and so then like your calcium levels are all off. But like mine were never like affected at all, and so they were like, you can leave. Like I left 24 hours after my surgery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you like nervous when you left? Like
a little. I was nervous for the drive home.
Okay. Yeah.
I was nervous for that. I stayed another night in Little Rock, like in an Airbnb
just
with
like
my parents.
Nearby.
Yes, just nearby. And then we left the next morning. But I was definitely a little nervous. But my surgeon gave my mom his phone number. And it was like, if you need anything, like you can call me, you can text me. And he like sent me my pictures from in surgery. And like my mom will text him every once in a while. So that's been really cool to have.
So now, where are you at health-wise? How are you feeling?
I feel great. Luckily, I'm back to normal, perfectly healthy. I had a radiation treatment in the middle of June. And so then once I did that and like went for my scan after that, they were like, okay, like you're cancer free. Like, you can do whatever now. And I have to go back in November to see my endocrinologist, but just like routine checkups every once in a while and a bunch of blood work.
So when you take your thyroid out, like you kind of mentioned, it regulates a lot of different things in your body, especially for a female. Just how have you had to recover from that? Is there anything that you have to do to supplement kind of what you've lost?
I take a synthetic thyroid medicine every single day. So that's like, it was hard a little bit for my body to kind of adjust to that, especially like being at home and not really like being as active as I am here, and then coming back and immediately like jumping into all of our summer runs and lifts and stuff like that. It was trial and error trying to figure out like the right dose or like what time of day to take it. But I've kind of figured it out a little bit now, and I know what to look for if I'm like not feeling right. So it's just been a lot of trial and error trying to figure it out, but I think I got it down now.
Working through finding the right dosages and stuff, is that something that you have to do forever now?
Yeah, so I have to take it every day for the rest of my life. And I have to do like blood work like every 6 weeks. I just got my blood work done today, so we'll see how that comes back. But yeah, I have to do it every day for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I'm sure like my dose will change as like my activity level changes and stuff. But as of right now, I think we kind of found like the sweet spot. But like my endocrinologist has been really good about communicating that with me, like what to look for. And so he's been really awesome for that.
So now your life just looks a little different. You're doing these blood works, you have this medication that you're having to take. What was it like for you trying to figure out kind of your new normal and what your body was going to feel like?
Yeah, it was hard, especially in the summer because we're up here. I mean, I was up here beginning of June running and lifting and doing all that. And I definitely felt like it took my body a while to be like, okay, like this is what we're doing again. Like we're an athlete still, like we still have to do all of this. So it was just intimidating to be like, oh, I might have to feel like this for the rest of my life, or like I'm going to have to like kind of have this hump that I always have to get over. But I mean, I'll take taking a pill every single day for the rest of my life over some of the alternatives that it could be.
And also, I mean, trying to get over that hump, like, do you feel like you're over it now?
I do. I think it was just so hard in the summer because it was like a battle of like, am I out of shape, or am I like, is this my body like not being used to this, and trying to find like the happy medium and also like not push it too far. That was something that I had a really hard time with. And Zane, our strength coach, was always like, take it easy. Like, you know, like your body is like fighting things that like nobody else's is. Like you need to like try and find that line of like when to push and when not to. And my response was always like, oh, I'm just a baby, or like, oh, I just need to like get over it. But once I got over it, I felt a lot better. And I was like, oh, okay, like I can play soccer and I can run still and I can like do everything I could before.
And also be back with the team now and looking forward to a great season with them. Just how excited are you to be back out on the field?
I'm so excited. Like even when we were playing our exhibition games, like I was like, I'm so excited. Like, and I feel like for exhibition games, it's hard to like be excited in a way because it's like, it doesn't mean anything, like whatever. But I was just so excited, and it's such a blessing to be able to play again and to be like with my team. And after everything that we all went through in the spring, like I feel like I owe it to them. And I'm just excited to be able to like be surrounded by such a good group of girls, and I'm excited to see what we're going to do this season.
Were your parents at any of the exhibition games?
Yes, they were at all of them.
What were they cheering you on in the stands? And so I think you scored your first goal, right? As well. So what was their reaction to that?
They were right behind the goal when I scored. Like they were standing right there, actually talking to like our team doctor and stuff. And I didn't know they were there until I like looked to see if the ball actually went in the goal. And I saw like my mom like jumping around and like hugging and like crying. And I saw my dad back there, and he has like this very distinct whistle that he always does. And I was like, oh, there's Dad. And seeing like the joy that it brought them, and knowing that like they also went through that too. Like it wasn't just me, it was them too. And so it was such a surreal moment to see them at the back of the net.
What was the
cheering
moment
for
like
me.
for you though?
It was awesome. I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, I want to score so bad. Like, I'm so excited. And I think I kind of like blacked out a little bit. And then I didn't like realize it until Tank. She was the one that served the ball, a perfect ball. And she was the one that ran in. She's like, oh my gosh, like you did it. And I was like so excited. And I think after the game, like my parents were all emotional. Like they were so excited. And yeah, it was really cool. And I'm really glad I got to do that.
Well, I'm sure, you know, this whole process, you've grown a lot and matured a lot through all of it. Is there anything in particular that you've really like learned about yourself through all of it?
I think I've always known that I'm pretty tough and like I can handle a lot, but I think throughout this, like I didn't realize it. But I also realized like how much I do like need people in my corner. I've always tried to be independent, and I've always tried to be like a do it on my own type of person. But this was something that like I couldn't do alone, and like had to let the people around me help me. And I think that changed my perspective a lot, because I didn't like, you take so much for granted when you like are feeling normal and like don't have really a lot going on. And I didn't realize like how much I took for granted, like being able to play soccer and like being able to have like a healthy body and like have the people around you that you need. And so like that perspective change has definitely like changed my life.
So now that you've got your health back, you're feeling good, how do you move forward from that in your life and your athletic career as well?
I think just like seeing the scar every single day is just a reminder of like what I have been through and how much I have overcome. And I think it's taken me a while to like draw confidence from it, but now I'm like, if I can handle that, like I can handle anything. And I think it's just like a new sense of like gratitude every single day that I get to wake up and I get to be here and I get to play soccer and I get to be with my friends. And I think like that has just made everything else in my life like so much better. And I didn't like know that before.
If someone else found themselves in the same situation as you did, what would you want to tell them? And what would you tell yourself if you could back then?
I think I would probably just tell myself like, let your friends be your friends. Like, let them be there for you. Like, don't try to do it all on your own. Like, there are people in your life placed for a reason, and like trust that like everything's gonna work out the way that it's supposed to.